I want to go this year, Lubie, if we were ever going to cover a draft.
Oh, Vegas, right? Oh, my God.
Viva Las Vegas.
The draft would be insane in Vegas. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me?
In Vegas, right? And think about this now, with the new fusion and symmetry between all gambling entities. Remember when Roger Goodell was saying, yeah, you know what, we can't have this, it's gambling. Okay, Raj. Now he's in the sportsbook going, crazy with every basket by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yeah, way to go, man. What are you kidding me? That's not a foul.
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very special good morning, everybody. Great to be with you here on Ion Channel. It's the Defo Show. Jeff Deforrest and the soon-to-be traveling Mike Lubitz with you on the program. In fact, you're bailing out like, I don't even know if we can finish the show. You have to catch a flight like in the middle of the show? That's
1 o'clock.
That's really hustling.
I haven't been in Miami in a long time, so I'm really not trying to take chances. Anytime I've dealt with Miami, it's always been so fun. So.
And you're heading for Greece? Is that the deal?
Yes, sir.
All right. So are you looking forward to it? It's just you and your lovely wife. Is this a quasi honeymoon of sorts? No, you've been on like a zillion trips with this woman. It's great. You've become a real traveler.
She's calling it our anniversary trip because our first year anniversary was in March. So we're going in April. So she's told herself that it's our anniversary trip. Whatever she has to tell herself, it's fine. Yes, and I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to it. Mayo Man,
okay.
A lot of we did Greek food yesterday on his lunchbox. So I had a lot of tips.
Yeah, I caught a little in the show. I was driving back from my meeting down in Miami, which, by the way, that was very encouraging. And I was so encouraged by it. I felt like I was on such a lucky streak. I had a meeting yesterday in Miami with a longtime friend, very influential in this business, and he had a lot of positive things to say. He took an interest in what we were doing, which is fantastic. So I couldn't have felt any better about that. And so I thought, well, I'm on a streak, so I'll roll right to the racetrack. And sure enough, I was giving Lubie the details as the guy behind me is screaming, "Come out with the 7! Come out with the 7!"
I heard it. I'm like, where are you?
It's like the dead giveaway that you're at the track, where you used to be lying to your wife or your spouse or your girlfriend, and she was expecting you home a few hours earlier. And you said, well, I got caught up at work. I tell you what, I'm stuck in traffic right now. And then in the background, very clearly, she can hear
Exactly.
As if that wasn't enough, then they have to do it again, right? Because the bugler traditionally would turn then in another direction and go, right? Because you need the other side of that thing. And then the magic question comes that nobody can answer. I mean, there are two good ones that come from women usually. Who's she? That's an impossible question to answer. Who's she?
No shot.
Some woman, you're out somewhere, and especially this is really, really difficult when it's in the beginning of a relationship where, you're out somewhere. Maybe you're having a casual lunch with somebody that you've been out with a few times, and you're really starting to get things going. And then some woman comes over and just plants one on you.
Oh,
and it's like, Defo, man, so good to see you. How the hell you been, man? I tell you what, we had some good times together.
Oh, no.
And then, what are you supposed to say to the subsequent question? Who's she?
Oh, no.
The other question, it's always very difficult. And, I mean, this is especially suspect for guys that are degenerates because it's hard to hide this stuff now. I mean, it really is. So if you're getting away with it, the last thing you want to have is, to be exposed by some sound effect in the background. That giveaway, right?
Yep.
Or she hears the anthem, and then she knows you're at the track like an hour earlier before post time. I mean, there's really no excuse for, being there that early while you're supposed to be somewhere else with this particular person. But where are you is always, very tenuous turf in terms of revealing the truth when in these situations. Because how do you lie about that? It's the old woman what woman thing, right? She can clearly hear the call to the post in the background. Yep. And, it's especially hideous at places that don't. And you would find it rare now. I guess only real traditional tracks have a bugler. I'm not sure I think they have a live bugler during the Gulfstream Championship meet, which is a great job, right, Lubie? I mean, you're coming out 10 times a day and going, and that's it. right? What do they pay you for that? I mean, they have to pay you something for your time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like you're Al Hurt, blowing a trumpet there in front of 4,500, 5,000 people, in some concert in New Orleans. You're just standing there at the racetrack. Nobody's really paying that much attention to you, except the father that's trying to convince their little kids justify bringing them to the track. Hey, see the horses and the bugler? Meanwhile, the guy's like running off to the window, leaving the kids unattended while he sends in 2,000 on the 6-ball. Anyway, I went out there, and another proven degenerate theory. I'm not sure that there is any legitimacy to this theory, but I believe there to be. And is that all that matters? The belief when you're gambling. Eventually, I guess that belief can be shot to hell. But I do believe this. I mean, and I told you this story a million times. I'm in the sports book at the MGM Grand when they first rebuilt the MGM Grand, hanging out there with my friend Mighty Melendez. And we were covering some boxing event there. They always had nice accommodations for the people that were willing to come out there and pump up these boxing events. So they'd let you stay out there at the Mandalay Bay or the MGM, in this case, 4 or 5 days on their ticket, give you a couple of rooms, airfares, all kinds of stuff. And all you had to do was interview a couple of boxers, which you would have been willing to do anyway. Correct, Lubie? I mean, this was like a dream situation. So we're broadcasting actually from the race book. And I'm sitting down there before the show, and Melendez and I are talking to this guy, and he's pointing out that he has this pamphlet about horse body language and how to, judge horse body language, which, people have been doing this, trying to decipher this for years. There are people that claim to be real experts at it. I would assume that Kate and Bradar has a level of legitimate expertise in this area where, and it gets like really bizarre, Lubie, when you're at the track where a guy goes, hey, look at that. You see, that horse has a great turf foot. And I'm thinking,
what the hell does that mean?
It's like the same hoof that every other horse has. I don't know. I mean, what is that? Like a size 12? How do you judge that? And I guess there is a way to do it. And you'll have guys that look at horses in the paddock and they claim to have, various levels of expertise as to how to judge the readiness of the horse. Now, I would say that this is true. If you go to a sporting event and you see a guy like Ben Simmons with body language that just reeks of being in a sulking, desperate mood, you could say, well, that guy's not really likely to have a great game. It doesn't always work, but more often than not, you see a guy that's ready to go, and he's more likely to have a positive impact on the game than some guy that just looks like he's really not all that interested. Would you say that that's true? I mean, even you can judge athletes. They show up even if you're playing recreational ball, right? You can look at somebody and go, I don't know about this guy.
I mean, the term game face came from somewhere. Like, it is a term for a reason. Like, there is a game face, there is a vibe, there is a mode people get who are really determined and focused get before a game. 100%.
Do you have to be like looking like you're angry to be apparently, or appear to be focused? I'm not sure that that's really true. I never found that to be the case. I always thought, wow, you're going out there to play a game. Go out and have a good time, no matter what the so-called level of intensity of the particular contest might be or what's on the line. But what exactly is that, the game face? Because it seems like game face only implies that the guy's got a mean, angry look on his face. Determined look on his face.
Like determined. Yeah. Angry isn't always good. Like we've learned in life, being angry doesn't always.
Don't gamble when you're angry. I've said that many times here on the show. I mean, that's an adage that everybody should subscribe to. Do not gamble when you're mad. You never win.
100%.
Never win.
Well, doing most things when you're mad is not good. You're usually gonna just act irrational and illogical. Like that's never great.
I mean, after Nick Kyrgios has one of his blow-ups with the chair umpire, does he ever play well? No, he usually tanks.
No,
yeah,
exactly.
Some guy gets a couple of technicals. Does he come back and slam one in the face of Joel Embiid? No, he usually ends up fouling somebody and ending up on the bench there with the coach giving him a disappointed look. And why do they high-five everybody who comes off the floor in the NBA at any time, even if the guy just turned the ball over 6 times? Right? Now, in hockey, it's cool when a guy goes by and he slaps everybody's gloves after he scores a goal and they're all standing there by the edge of the bench. But in the NBA, a guy comes off the floor. He just committed 3 fouls in a span of 5 minutes, didn't get a rebound, threw 2 balls out of bounds, went 0 for 2 shooting, and everybody, hey. It's like the missed free throw where the guy gets off
hate
the line and stops
hate
to
that.
slap five with everybody. It's like the guy just bricked a free throw.
Dude, you bricked it.
You're congratulating him?
I hate it's like, dude, you bricked it. Like, I'm sorry.
Leave the man alone. Yeah, just stand there in shame with your head down and try to make the next one.
Exactly.
Don't high five everybody. Like, well, usually you don't want to move off the spot. Would you say that that's true, Lubie? I mean, if you've just hit 3 in a row,
I'm not moving.
what are you trying to do? You're playing one-on-one against a guy. You just hit 3 in a row from the top of the key. I mean, what is the defender going to do? Let you shoot another one? No.
Nah, no way.
Going to try to move you off that spot. I mean, it's, part of sports. Try to make a guy a little bit uncomfortable. And so why would you want to step off the free throw line to high-five the guy that's by the midcourt stripe who leans in and gives you a high five, and then you get the ball back and brick another one? Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, a lot of good stuff going on. So the horse body language thing, just to finish the story, I see one yesterday, a spot one, another one of those horses that looked just like the one that got me out on that Atlantic City trip and paid $112. And at that time, and I went away from my thinking that I had just adjusted to, Lubie, because I'm a wimp. But I did do a smart thing. I was thinking, I'd bet 20 to win on this horse, right? He goes off 19 to 1. He looked like a Secretariat when he stepped onto the track there. I just happened to see a glance of him. This is at Aqueduct yesterday, one of the middle races, maybe like the 6th race. And sure enough, I look in the form then to see, like, is there any justification for the fact that this horse, who was like 12 or 13 to 1 at the time, is not really taking any action when, he looks like the best horse on the track. I mean, he really did look sharp. And so I see he had run 2 races, and this is a tricky thing in horse race handicapping, because you have to take a shot here where you see a horse ran twice, Lubie, and then you'll see the comment, it ran very poorly, didn't beat a horse. And the comment on both races was got bumped at the start, lost all chance or whatever. All right, so 2 times this horse had problems getting out of the gate. Now, you don't know. Maybe you could look down there on the workout line and see if he had any workouts from the gate. I didn't get that deeply into it. Yeah. There are all kinds of levels of justification to make a losing bet and rationalization behind it. So I saw the horse that had trouble, so I'm thinking, all right, there's really no way to judge what this horse's past performances are because he's really had no shot in both starts that he's had. He looks great on the track. He's going off at the time he was like 12 or 13 to 1 when I bet him. He went off at 19 to 1. And I'm thinking if he breaks well, then we'll find out if this horse is any good. If he lives up to the portrayal that he had given of his readiness. How about that? Is that a poetic way of putting it?
Definitely.
So sure enough, he gets out of the gate cleanly. He's like 3rd in the early break, wheels around the 2 horses that were in front of him early on in like the first furlong, and jogs and goes wire to wire. Pays $40.
Look at you.
But yeah. But I kind of screwed it up. I did end up cashing almost the equivalent amount. But if I just put 20 to win on a horse, I would have got back like 400 right away. And instead, I wheeled him in exactas and daily doubles. And, of course, whenever I have a wheel in a daily double, it seems like lately, you can go ahead and plunge on the chalk in the next leg of that sequence. Anybody else that's there, I always tell them, hey, go ahead, bet all you want on the 5. He's the ruination horse. He's the one horse that can ruin me here in this spot. And sure enough, whoosh, wins by 5 or 6 lengths in the next race. But no, that was nice. So horse body language. And the bottom line on this story is as you're trying to make some sugar and rationalization that you're actually onto something, after we talked to this guy, I ended up doing the broadcast. And then in the middle of the broadcast, there was a commotion in the MGM Sportsbook. And it was like 3 guys in white coats that came with a net and took this guy away. He had escaped from some asylum.
Oh, no.
This was the guy that we were talking to.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was, just absolute, perfection. That we were getting our information from a guy who was legitimately crazy.
A lunatic.
Yeah. But he had books and everything, and he looked legit. Lunatic.
I love that.
When did they cart you out of a casino in a butterfly net? I mean, never, right? They want the crazy people in there. They figure they're just going to be losing all of their money. So anyway, that was yesterday, and that was a lot of fun, and a bit of an intro into what should be a great Degenerate weekend, including Lubie, and very, very interesting. Now, Mayo's going to join us later on, Mike Mayo, the Gamvling Gourmet, in his capacity as a Gamvling Gourmet. And, I mean, if he's running scared, he has legitimate reason.
Oh, no, you were right. I thought you were joking. So I took your spot.
He's paranoid about this thing.
He's given up. He said, look, I'm rooting against them for the bet, but when it's done, I'll be rooting them on, which he's never said this entire time. And
Yeah.
then he's like, but look, the way they are playing, he's like, I know you got to finish a bet, but it's done. And I'm like, what is going on? Like,
People in this business don't want to look stupid, right? When it comes to making predictions, that's part of the problem, right? I mean, you've felt this now, you've experienced this, where you don't want to be dead wrong. You don't want to be screaming, "No, I think Winslow's way better than Devin Booker."
Yeah, exactly.
And be on record doing that. Now, most sportscasters or people in this capacity that do sports analysis or any kind of analysis for that matter, when they're completely wrong, they just forget about it.
Yep.
They move on to the next thing, right?
Yep.
It doesn't matter. I mean, as we talked about with the Brent Musburger Barry America program, previously known as Vegas Sports Information Network, but I think it's Action Sports now. And I believe it to be the same outfit, although I'm not sure that I'm seeing the exact same. Did they fire the entire staff? That might have been a worthwhile suggestion.
Maybe.
All of our handicappers are gone. Right. Because they can't pick their nose. That's the problem. Although they write about this and analyze it from just any number of brilliant angles. But in the end, always giving up a loser. Now, it's kind of interesting. Tonight's Heat game, I'm seeing a conflicting line. I don't know if you have one, Lubie. The Heat game against the Hawks tonight, speaking of degeneracy. And I have been dead wrong in trying to pick these games. I believe I was 1-4 in games that we picked on the show.
Yes.
Lubie, and you were a robust 3-2.
Yeah, 3-2.
Which shows you how impossible it is that a guy that usually is dead wrong about everything
Thank you.
has a winning record in these NBA playoffs. And what's good, I mean, as we've said a few times during this time of the year, the time of the season, as the zombies would say, it's the time of the season. Were those three great organ chords right there? Very simple. They put that together. But it's the time of the season where, I mean, if you're a sports fan, you're in just a constant state of euphoria, are you not? You have everything that you could want. I mean, they go from one NBA game to another, just one after another. And then you have a conflicting game on, playoff game going on another channel at the same time. My God, it's like the NCAA tournament, only with pros. And last night, again, 3 games of action, but some very compromising situations have arisen, Mike Lubitz, showing you that perhaps Mayo is not the dead man that we think that he is, because anything can happen in the NBA and especially in the NHL. Yeah, anything can happen.
And you never know. With injuries, you never have an idea.
So you would have given Chicago no chance against Milwaukee in a 7-game series. Chicago had kind of tailed off. They weren't playing as effectively as they were early in the season when they were a real surprise. Wasn't that one of those shockers when you looked at the standings?
Yes.
And you're saying, what happened to the Bulls? They still in the league? And then you're looking, oh, yeah, they're in first place. My God, how is that possible?
But they had made
Michael
moves.
Jordan come back?
They went and got Lonzo Ball, and he had a good year last year. They went and brought in DeMar DeRozan, a guy that the Heat and the Lakers were really hard after. So you thought they'd be better, but, I thought they'd be a 5 or 6 seed. Like, they were a 1 seed early in the season, and I was like, what's going on? Like, this is interesting.
Does LeBron get associated with every decision that's made in basketball? Because I was reading the other day that, and I don't know if this is true or not, but that LeBron James was not in favor of signing DeMar DeRozan, who had a magnificent season. I mean, what would you say? Is he the most improved player in the league? There's a lot of speculation as to who might win that award, including, believe it or not, Ja Morant, who had a weird triple-double last night. He wasn't having a particularly good ball game, and that was a wild one. Wow. There's another association there, A-Rod. I mean, is A-Rod like just a jinx at this point? He buys a piece of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Lubie, on 2 occasions in this game, in the first quarter and then in the third quarter, the Timberwolves are annihilating the Memphis Grizzlies. Morant is having a subpar game. He's like 2 for 9 shooting. And the Timberwolves go up over 20 points in like the first quarter and a half, and then end up leading by only 7 at halftime. So the guys on the TNT show, Ernie Johnson and Barkley and Shaq and Kenny Smith, they're all saying, well, you know what, I tell you what, I don't like the way they coughed up that lead, which, is not uncommon in the NBA. Yeah. So they come out and pulverize the Grizzlies in the third quarter. I mean, it's a joke. They look like the Showtime Lakers, the 26. Minnesota Timberwolves. Yeah, they go way up, and then they end up losing the game by like 9 points. Yes. Almost impossible.
NBA's weird. Oh, by the way, the Heat Hawks line I'm seeing is the first line you're seeing. So that guy must have teased it up. I'm seeing 1 and a hook. Heat laying 1 and a hook. So he must have teased it or something, or hoped.
I don't think you can. You can't tease a line a point, can you?
I
1
don't
point
know.
would
I
be
don't
3
know.
or 6.
I
Yeah.
don't. That talk
Oh
about
no, I don't know about in basketball, right? That's a football equation. So, what is the correlation there? If you're going to tease a game, can you tease NBA games?
Can't you tease
Can you
anything?
can you
Like,
buy an NBA teaser? I never heard of that.
Can't you?
Boy, there you go. A gambling situation that I have not been confronted with and I'm not familiar with. Never thought we'd find
Never
this on a
happened. That's never happened.
Degenerate Friday show. Yeah. Now that 1.5 looks very tepid to me, doesn't it? I'd be willing to lay it, wouldn't you? I think the Heat have handled the Hawks. They haven't even gotten. I mean, they're probably not going to get a duplicate game from Jimmy Butler. That would be hard to reproduce because he was on all aspects that he normally isn't necessarily that efficient at. Right? I mean, when Jimmy Butler's 4 for 7 from 3-point range with good looking Ray Allen type of jumpers. I mean, he's an awkward outside shooter, Jimmy Butler.
Yep.
And kind of a weird style of player anyway, right?
Yep.
Which is why people didn't see him as a main go-to guy because he's one of those players, and you need this type of player to win in the NBA.
Yep.
Maybe a guy who's not that well known, who's not one of the team's stars, but just hustles his eyeballs out, which is what Clint Capella is for the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, a lot of guys only know Clint Capella because he has that one little blonde splotch on his hair. Does he still have that? Clint Capella?
Probably. It's probably a birthmark. So usually
it isn't a birthmark, Lubie. He dyed like one patch of hair blonde. Okay. I don't know.
Well, I knew people growing up that had in the back of their head would have like this thing that was like blonde.
Oh, maybe it's a birthmark. Maybe he's wearing a yarmulke, just pinned on there. Whatever it is, that's the only reason you don't know Clint Capella, except all of a sudden in the fourth quarter with 1:20 to go in the game, it's like he's squashing the air out of a ball on a rebound and grabbing it over two guys that are a foot taller than he is. And making a key basket or making a big time conversion on a fast break. So every team, has that type of player on it. Wow, I mean, just out of the woodwork, Memphis comes out and explodes. Even though Jean Morant's not he kind of came on, ended up with like 16 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists. So it's not like he had a bad game. They did make a very valid point. Iron Eagle was doing this game also, right?
He's doing every game.
Yeah.
I
think he did the second game also.
I love Iron, so it's great to hear him on games, but I feel bad. And no wonder why I only get him once a month. He's like, yeah, reach out to me in like a month. Like, okay, Iron.
What kind of schedule is that, man? He was in Miami last night. So, and the next day you're in Minnesota?
Like, what the heck?
Minnesota. It's probably snowing there.
Yeah.
I mean, you're Iron Eagle. You're on the beach one day. You're in blizzard the next day. But he's working with this guy, Jimmy Jackson.
Jimmy Jackson, yeah.
Yeah. So, who, was a fairly prominent player and seems to make a very nice presentation as a color analyst. I don't know that he's saying anything overwhelmingly scintillating yet, but he did make a very good point. And they said this about Dwayne Wade. And I don't know. Did it come to pass? That if you're going to play the game with the so-called reckless abandon and just always be going to the floor, like Jean Morant is 3 feet in the air, levitated and perpendicular to the ground, will land just flat on his back a dozen times a quarter. Now, are you going to land? I mean, is he not going to suffer from a little Jerry Quarry syndrome eventually, you think?
I mean,
you've just been hitting the head so many times that even when you wake up in the morning and get a cup of coffee, as soon as you put it to your lips, your head snaps back, right? So you're just used to getting hit. Can you survive that? They said that about Wade, that if he continues to, constantly be, I mean, you're throwing it. That's wood. It's not like, some cushion there.
Well, and that's the thing. Look, he's not a LeBron where he's like 280. Like, Wade had more to him than John Morant, but Wade did it for a long time where what do you mean? He made the commercials of fall 8 times, get up 9 or whatever. Like, that was Wade. Like, look, those 4 Heat runs, we kept counting him out. He wasn't that old. He was early 30s, but he had done a wear on his body. He was always, after that second year, those last 2 finals runs, he was hurt like the entire time. And it probably had a lot to do with his body was worn because of how hard he was. People forget what Wade was young. Like, I think that a lot of the cases people don't like that stupid thing they're saying. And look, Durant and Irving are as skilled as any talent ever. But I think people do forget what Wade was. Like, that finals run in 2006, he wasn't just dunk. He was doing everything. Dude was hitting jumpers. He was hitting fadeaways. He was dunking on people. Like, and he threw his body into everything. and he didn't put on size till he was in his 30s. So I wouldn't doubt that had a lot to do with why in his 30s you saw him missing a lot of games in big moments. And John Morant's even slighter, and he high flies as much as anyone I've ever seen.
He's it looks like Nick Wallenda, when he was teetering on the balance there about falling into the Grand Canyon. I mean, you're thinking, eventually this is really going to slow this guy down. That was what Jackson was saying on the broadcast last night with Ian Eagle. But the shock was, I mean, how did Minnesota pull away again by over 20 points?
I don't get it.
And they were rolling, Lubie, and then they're showing A-Rod. I don't know if he had a new girlfriend, but he's got a piece now with the Timberwolves.
Does no?
And as soon as they showed A-Rod, I turned away for a while, and when I came back, the game was tied. From like it might have been, was it 26 points they were down? Is it possible?
I woke up because I didn't watch it. I passed out last night, but I had an eye. Oh yeah, I saw where that game was going, and I didn't
imagine the money you could have made if you bet Memphis at that point. Like what level of crazy man is out there that's taking advantage of these prop bets that are available now in game betting? Speaking of degeneracy,
when it was 26. Yeah, if you had when it was 26, bet on the Grizzlies.
Imagine, yeah.
You must have got
you're sitting there, you got the Grizzlies, and you're thinking. All right, I'm going to bet them now to win the game. They're down 17. And the guy that's with you says, wait, they'll be down 23 in a minute. Then we're going to unload.
We're really going to go.
At what odds? Ian Eagle, I thought he was going to have a comment on this. I guess, the announcers must be under strict parameters not to say a word about this gambling situation. Okay, so here's what they do now in the game. This is TNT. Okay. Right? And they have it was 86-80. Somewhere nearing the fourth quarter, right? So, I mean, it looks like it's going to be under the total. These were two high-scoring teams. And the over-under to start the game, before the game started, was 230, all right? 230.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
All right, so now Ian Eagle has to intro a promo saying, well, going into the game, the over-under was 230, and now you can bet the over-under at 206.
Oh, it went down?
Well, because it was clear they weren't going to hit anywhere near 230. And I thought he was going to say, if you want this number, 888-ADMIT-IT, you can either have that or some kind of suicide prevention hotline if you're an overplayer right now. Should that not have been added to the commentary? Now, Ian Eagle would have thought of something like this.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Look, he's honest.
You think they just shut his mic off right after he read that promo? Because it's like, what else could you think? But hey, you poor suckers that have the over in this game, man, you're buried.
You're screwed. Yeah, you're screwed.
If you want to ring up on 206 and take that, that's available now too. How great has this world become, Lubie?
I love that they just embrace it. I thought you were going to say they weren't allowed to talk about it, but the fact now they're not only allowed to talk about it, but they're in bed with them, so they don't want you to go the other way and do anything negative about it.
Well, I mean, imagine somebody's doing this calculation, and then they're relaying this not information about, you saw so-and-so go off to the locker room. Nothing, right? Now the sideline reporters, those overplayers that took 230, man, what suckers they look like. Right now you can get it for 206.
Yeah, exactly.
It's insane. I mean, you never thought the world would come to this. I mean, they've come around. Is it too much, Lubie? Is it going to bankrupt everybody?
It's not
Are we going to be part of the reason that the world is bankrupt?
Part of the problem.
Well, look at the two of us.
At this point,
it's not like I haven't heard those words suggested by various attorneys over the years. Have you considered bankruptcy, Mr. Deforrest? No, but I am going to bet the 2-ball in the second race at Golden.
So,
all good. All right. So anyway, that was a miraculous turnaround, and you would have to think lights out for the series because. You had just seen Memphis, destroy the Timberwolves the previous game after losing inexplicably by a considerable margin in game number 1. And you thought, wow. And I was touting, and this was getting back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the show here, Lubie. As a guy in this business, you don't want to look like a fool and always be wrong unless you can just tell people, hey, I'm a loser. Whatever I say, I would go against.
Yeah.
And and there's a certain, I don't know, well, what would it be? Is it an ego thing where, if you're predicting stuff in the sporting world, and I would imagine this to be true of most everybody that does this, whether you're writing in a newspaper, you don't want to be wrong. You
Nah,
just you don't want to look bad, and then you start hedging. Well, I never said the Dolphins were going to win 7 games this year, right? But you can't do that. I mean, if you're going to be straight up and do a Degenerate Friday show, Lubie, you have to be accountable. I mean, that's the number one thing that you don't see with all of these gambling entities.
Yep.
They don't post the guy's record underneath.
Oh,
Wouldn't you want to know that?
See, that's what
They don't post the record. Never.
I keep track of our games with our guys, and with us, we're honest. To me, what's the point of it if you're not going to? Then I don't care.
If you're not accountable,
like why would I want your picks? If you're only
don't you want to know that the guys, picked one winner in his last 32 tries? I mean,
exactly. And I
I
get
want
it.
to know that.
We've talked about it, and you, as much as we very American campaign with the VSIN, you would always give them credit for if you read the stuff the day of, it sounded great. It made a lot of sense.
It sounds great.
So it doesn't mean you don't know your stuff. And we get it. Like, it's, again, that's why the Greek always say this to me. That's why it's called gambling, not winning. So I understand. But again, at some point, you do have to win as well. So you have to let them know. Look, I know my stuff, but I'm on you may want to stay away. I'm on a heater, what's the point of being on a heater if you never say when you're a loser? Like, then why would I go to you? You're just full of it.
Yeah, and here's a principle, where people that have a little bit of a deeper interest in this than just a casual guy who's going perusing prop bets on FanDuel or DraftKings or any other site, and that is a lot of handicappers that are serious about it or hope to be winning more often than not, set their own line, right? So they'd say, hey, look, I think this game should be 2.5 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like take the case of the Heat tonight. I would have thought the Heat would be bigger favorites even on the road, against the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks haven't shown me that they really have the with Butler having this good game and almost everybody else sort of being half out of it, as you were saying, Lubie.
Yep.
They still lost by 10 points.
Yes.
The Atlanta Hawks. So would you be willing to lay 1.5 tonight? I would have thought that line would have been higher, like maybe 2.5, 3 points favor of the Heat.
I think they're doing the thing you did where is Butler going to do that again? No, he's not. I mean, even in the finals when he played great and that playoff run when he played great, he didn't do it every game. It's not.
He doesn't usually have back-to-back games like that.
It's not who he is.
That would be a hard game to duplicate him. It was unprecedented, 45 points in the postseason.
Well, he had no. What was unprecedented was he had 45, 5, and 5 with 0 turnovers and 0 fouls, and he played good defense. So he's just not doing that again because they're going to be on the road. So he's going to get called for fouls. He's going to turn it over. He's not going to go for 45. So I guess the lines makers are like, look, he's not going to do that again. And these other guys haven't shown up. And role players, even though they're really good, they're still quote unquote role players. Usually play worse on the road. So if they didn't play well at home, what are they going to do on the road? Now, to me, I think it's the opposite. I think you're going to see Bam and Hero wake up because they have to wake up at some point. But if you're a lines maker going off of what you've seen before, it makes sense to be like, okay, they're on the road. These guys are probably going to continue to struggle. Butler's not going to do this. And the Hawks, being a young team, will wake up at home. So the Heat should win, but it's going to be a lot closer than these other two games. Which makes sense. Like, as a fan,
1.5 seems like a small amount of points to accommodate a belief that the Hawks are in this series. Now, the other thing that's in play is you go up 3-0, you can't lose because we had Golden State. I keep wanting to call them San Francisco. Golden State go up 3-0 in their series, and so that appears to be over. I mean, by all accounts, 100. What was it? 143-0.
Yes.
NBA series where a team was up 3-0. I really still found that statistic to be astounding. That not one time has a team come back from 3 games down. 3 games to none, and won a series in NBA playoff history?
Never. I mean, I don't know.
Seems impossible, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, no. We've seen it. Even in baseball, we saw the Red Sox finally do it. But again, remember, it took baseball. That it was something in 0 and something for like 100 years.
Yeah.
Red Sox did it to the Yankees. NBA ain't 100 years old yet, so maybe in 100 years we'll see. It's just hard because of the way that they don't give them room to breathe. There's not a lot of days off. So these guys, the other team doesn't get lethargic. You don't get the rust, being up 3-0. You're still staying on it. And it seems like once they get to 3-0, it usually doesn't go to 7. Like, I'm curious how often from 3-0 it goes to 7. Like, usually you get it done.
I would imagine that's a small number also.
Around with it, like,
teams throwing the towel. All right, so and Golden State suddenly looks a lot different as a proposition to win it all, especially with Devin Booker now
They're
going
the
to miss
favorite. I think they're the
three
favorite.
weeks, possibly 3 weeks of the postseason, which would put them
It's
what
next
if they
series.
get by the Pelicans, then they still would have no Devin Booker for the next series, which figures to ratchet up considerably in terms of degree of difficulty. Although it's not going to be easy for Phoenix to get out of this one now.
This
You would
series,
think.
because the Jazz Mavs, I think, is 4-5, and neither of those teams. The fact that the Jazz are now down 2-1.
How is this possible, right? Where's Doncic? I mean, did Cuban just trade him or something? I know he's injured.
They're talking about Jalen Brunson like he's LeBron. Like I knew he was good at Villanova, but I haven't heard of him in the pros. But they're like winning more without Luka. It's really weird. That series to me, if I'm the Suns, is like, okay, good. We should be able to beat one of these teams. The Pelicans are the problem. Like Ingram and that team is good.
McCollum was a good addition.
McCollum and Ingram together, they wouldn't have been an 8 seed. Like that's the thing. It's very much like the Nets, where like if these two were together for the majority of the year, they wouldn't have been an 8 seed. They would have been a 4 or 5. So the Suns are sort of in a rough spot because next series may be better for them than this. Like their perimeter defense is okay, and Booker has gotten better. Now you have two of the best shooting bigger guys in the league. I mean, they're like long guys, McCollum and Ingram. Without Booker, this is going to be a tough series. I mean, they can't look ahead.
Phoenix will win the rest of those games.
I mean, they'll probably win. It's going to be tough. Like, it's not going to be a gimme series.
What do we know about this? I'm 1-4 against the point spread here. I'm recommending that you unload on the Miami Heat tonight. They'll probably lose the game outright.
I know I'm hating you for it.
Yeah, so and very confusing, but that was a wild turnaround in that Memphis Timberwolves game. Dallas beats Utah. That's a shocker to me that Utah has caved without Doncic. I mean, you couldn't have a more perfect opportunity to go ahead and do something, and whatever chance Quinn Snyder had of getting the Lakers job is probably
gone
right out the window there. Yeah, exactly. LeBron's not going to take that, man. You're losing to Dallas without Doncic. What are you kidding me? You think Pelinka has anything to do with that decision? GM there.
I don't know. A lot of people are saying because they think LeBron's going to eventually leave that LeBron may not be as involved. We'll see.
But they so capitulate to LeBron James, they'll let him make all of the personnel decisions anyway, right?
Anyway.
Didn't want DeRozan. They blame LeBron for everything. Kim Jong-un launches a missile, and all of a sudden it's like, you know what? LeBron James was just talking about that the other day. He said he doesn't like that Rodman's going over there, so he pissed off the young man, and next thing you know, he's launching rockets there. Little Rocket Man. That was the one good thing Trump came up with. Golden State and Denver. Golden State looking very, very cohesive, getting contributions from sources that you didn't even know existed on the team. Very, very good. Anthony Edwards, is a very exciting player, too, for Minnesota. Anthony Edwards.
I know he's great.
What is he, a rookie this year?
Rookie of the year candidate? This year. I mean, he's probably going to be rookie of the year. Yeah. I mean, the kid's insane.
All right, very good. And the Panthers clinch the number 1 seed in the East, not necessarily helping. I mean, I don't know that it hurts Mike Mayo's cause that they clinch the number 1 seed, but they will be getting the perceived to be most inferior of postseason opponents there in the round number 1, and I believe they have a shot to outright have home ice advantage should they make it this far through the Stanley Cup final.
Yep.
If they can eclipse the point total of the Avalanche, which it appears they have a real shot to do. What do? Do you go all in there, or you just kind of scale it back a little bit? Mike Lubitz, you can't do any better in your own conference.
They now have the lead, and they've been in this back and forth with the Avalanche literally the entire season. Part of me is rooting for them to grab it. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'd like to see them be the number 1 point total in all of hockey. I don't know if now that you've locked it in, literally, like you've locked in the one with like 5 games left. Maybe you just mail it in, I guess. But I don't know. They're a young team. Like, I'm not worried about them getting injured, as much as getting lazy. Like, I wouldn't want to get lazy.
I tell you, who's worried about him is Mike Mayo. He's very worried about him.
He is. He 100% is. You're right about it. It was weird yesterday.
You had him on the show yesterday. You were on the show there, the food show for me. And, wow, yeah, I heard some of that. And it sounded good. It really did. And, I could hear his voice quivering every time
so weird.
mention was made about
you say it, but I'm like, he's just being Defo. Like, Mayo's not. We saw him the other day at Even Kill, and he was fine. So I'm like, okay, whatever. But when we got on air, I guess they had one the night before, so he was like, it's not looking good.
I think we take him to his favorite Chinese restaurant for some puck soup.
Exactly.
And he has to eat like a puck. We'll document it for that. Let's Eat South Florida. All right, we're coming back with more. Mike's going to join us later on. I don't know if he's going to amend his position or trying to waffle a little bit. I'm assuming he's starting to waffle.
He is.
Talking about paying off the bet before the bet actually transpires. You can't do that. I'm sorry, Michael. I mean,
nope.
That's holy Rachel Nichols. You talk about a kiss of death, right? Your career goes right in the toilet. Right after the interview, boom, straight in the toilet. Never make another basket again. And that's how he'll finish his career right there. Yep. Mickey Cabrera sat down with Rachel Nichols yesterday, and he talked about 3,000. I think Betty White sat down with her and talked about becoming 100 years old.
No.
That was on the cover of People magazine. Was Rachel Nichols the writer on that particular story?
My God. Probably not.
All right, don't forget about this thing. Jack's probably fuming already. I don't know. He's probably ready to put a cigar in my eye. I lit one. The Cigar of the Year party. And that's coming up on Saturday night. So that's tomorrow night. You have a little bit of time to get in on this. It's going to be great. Oliva, Melanio, Maduro, all being represented there among many other fine brands at the Surfcomber Hotel, South Beach. Very fine, fancy schmancy, and yet low-key enough for you to go ahead and design your own Cigar of the Year at this party and enjoy just terrific food and drink. High-end booze, Lubie. This isn't one of those things where there's like Ben and Jerry on the label of the vodka.
They're trying something new.
There's some high-end stuff, my friend. And then on top of that, like a really delicious array of hors d'oeuvres. I love hors d'oeuvres. I don't know about you.
I do too.
Now, we're going to have to ask Mayo about this when he comes on because, hors d'oeuvre etiquette. To what extent does that come into play, right?
I wish there was. Is there? There is. Because usually people camp out from wherever the people are coming out and they just pound it. I hate it.
You don't want just one. And I really don't like when they ambush the waitress as she leaves the kitchen door. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what people do, and it's annoying. It sucks.
They're hanging by the door like they're trying to get Mickey Mantle's autograph as he exits his car and walks into the stadium.
Yep.
Mick!
That's the worst. I hate it.
Right? What are those? Are those little hot dogs? Oh, who's coming out with that?
Mom.
Right behind you? All right, no problem, right? Then you trip the lady up. The tray goes flying all over the place. Because you're just an hors d'oeuvre hoarder. I mean, I would say take it deeper. An hors d'oeuvre whore. That's what people become. One place, too, and we're very excited about this. And it was great talking to Louis DeCubis yesterday on the program here, Hialeah Park, with the boxing. That's going to be sensational. That's May 7th. It's right around the corner, so we're talking about in a couple of weeks here to get your tickets at HialeahPark.com. Just a dynamite, sizzling, smoking hot card of Cuban prospects, including heavyweight that everybody thinks is going to make some real noise in the division. Already at 6-0 and fighting for one of the sort of minor title belts there, the NABO, I think it is. But still a distinction, and it's a title fight, and they have other world title fights taking place on the card. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. And the debut, you heard the excitement. Everybody's dropped this kid's name, right? Victor Abreu, right?
Yep.
Hard-hitting bantamweight man with all kinds of moves. He's got moves on top of moves, as my friend Benny Giorgino used to say about my other good buddy in the bantamweight division there, the great Albert Tweedy Davila, many, many years ago. Moves on top of moves. That's what he had. And all right, like where he makes one move and then boom, there's another move. That's Victor Abreu. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Dynamite venue. Everybody's been saying it. Okay, it's one thing for the promoter to say that. Oh, yeah, it's a great place for boxing, right? And then you get to the place and it's some warehouse outside of Reno.
Exactly.
And you're thinking, yeah, dynamite place, man. I mean, I just got hit with some tumbleweed as I was parking my car.
It's like an alley.
You want none of that. No, this is great. I mean, the
fun.
people have a blast there, and the vibe is great. And then, we've been down ringside, lucky enough to be ringside. Thank you, Frankie, and the people in Hialeah Park, right? And so that's great. I mean, what a perspective. So if you can get into that situation, I would recommend it. It's worth a couple of extra bucks for the tickets. And then, like, general admission is dynamite there. It's fantastic. Those seats go all the way up. They graduate all the way up to, like, the clubhouse level, and just a perfect view from every seat in the house, and you're right on top of the ring. It's absolutely phenomenal. You're going to love it. The boxing, May 7th at Hialeah Park. I'm going to make it a doubleheader, catch a little of the Derby, and then right into the boxing arena there, which is outside. It's absolutely beautiful situation. And you couldn't get a better atmosphere. Honestly, Lubie, it's a great atmosphere for boxing. Hialeah Park, May 7th. Circle it on your calendar if you're a sports fan. You're going to love it. It's going to be a blast. And you can get tickets at hialeahpark.com for that great event. All right, very exciting here on a Degenerate Friday. The Professor coming up next. Now, he's been knocking it out of the park. The Professor has been giving us the big board, and I'm not sure where it goes today. Last week, surprised us once again and overwhelmed us, right, with the Big Board Festival, music festival. Man, did he nail that on the head.
It was great.
You would never go to this music festival or consider it, which
I
still thought it was a country thing. I didn't know.
It is a country
you like
thing.
that?
Well, I don't like it. This is another thing where I follow my love, like NASCAR. Now she's actually gotten better with the country music, but the first 3 years of our relationship, we went every year before COVID. We went up until COVID, and it was a disaster. That thing is so annoying. It's hot as hell on the beach, and there's no trees. It's literally in the space.
Nothing. Yeah, you're
fine.
fine.
It has no trees.
Yeah. You look like you just came down from Montreal.
Yes, I look Canadian. Exactly. I look like the Canadians that come down here and have never seen the sun and don't know what sunscreen is. Exactly.
What is that in the sky? There I go with my Canadian thing. All right. We're going to run for the Professor here. He's coming up next. And Mike Mayo, the Gamvling Gourmet, going to join us for a spot also here on a Degenerate Friday on Ion Channel. I'm Jeff Deforrest. He's Mike Lubie Lubitz back with the Professor and his big board in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 7:46.
Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. You're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. Good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business, and the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Before you call your insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-875.
How many gamblers did I bail out last weekend with my game of the year? A $100 bettor made $10,000. A $500 bettor made $50,000. Well, I got 6 games on Sunday that I'm releasing absolutely free. These games are a burial, a blowout, a human lock. You can bet your unborn children on these 6 games. Absolutely.
Whoa, I believe.
We now return to the Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show, a Degenerate Friday edition of the Defo Show. Jeff Deforrest, one Mike Lubie Lubitz, and now it's become the high moment of the week here, the Professor's Big Board. We introduced to the program on a Degenerate Friday the Professor. Professor, how are you, my friend?
I'm excellent, Defo. How about yourself?
Doing all right. Hanging in there. Again, another horse body language special bailed me out. A bomb at Aqueduct that appeared to be the best on the track and looked like absolute shit in the form. And, of course, was ignored by the public except for the stable. You can always see when the stable money goes in as the horse goes from like 15-1 down to 9-1 and then quickly drifts back up to a post time of 19-1 and then jogs by the length of the stretch. So that was great. That helped out a lot. And if I could have, I was going to say, if I could have avoided the slot machines on the way out. Why do I do that? I mean, I never win at slot machines.
I believe
ever,
Mustang
ever,
has
ever.
infected you with that. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm thinking if she can do it, is that what it is? No, I don't think that way because I know I'm horrible in terms of luck with slot machines. I don't know. Now, have you? You must have put some, a few bucks in a slot machine at some point in time, but you're not inclined to just do full. Oh yeah, you love that. That's
He's
right.
not,
What am I
no,
talking
he's not
about?
crazy though. I've watched him. He's very regimented. It's just like his sports. He'll put
Electronic roulette. Yeah, I mean,
maybe a
crazy
stick.
stuff.
No, I don't like the I don't like the electronic machines. I like the machines that got the real ball that spins.
He likes
not,
the thing.
not the video game.
Yeah, but the game's too fast when you play with one of those machines. You know, I mean, it's sort of crazy because what are we protecting ourselves from by having these laws restricting having actual table games in these casinos?
I have
the substitute is these other games that there's a game going off like every 3 seconds. So if you want to play your number all the time, you know, you're going to lose your money, 10 times as fast.
We're protecting ourselves from tax revenue and tourists and making sure it all goes to the Seminoles for some reason.
Exactly.
Because I look, and I'm not trying to be biased here, but I get the point of Indian gaming. I really do. But I think particularly in Florida, it has outlived the point where we owe a past debt to the Seminoles in terms of exclusivity, because they own everything now. Like, they bought the Mirage, and they bought the Mirage to knock it down so they could build another guitar hotel because the one down here wasn't quite excessive. When you can buy the freaking Mirage with the intent of knocking it down the way people buy these, these 70-year-old houses in your neighborhoods and knock them down because they're oceanfront. When you got enough money to do that, to spend like $1 billion on a teardown,
that's crazy.
I think you've done pretty well for yourself. And I would also, by the way, advocate, as well as the Hard Rock is done and as much as they have become an attraction, not just for gaming, but with their shows and everything else, if you open this game up to everybody else, I don't think the Hard Rock's going to be crippled. I don't think the Hard Rock's going away. I think people are 100% still going to the Hard Rock and going to game and for the shows. And look, in the middle of non-tourist season, when it's like 1,000 degrees outside, that hotel is sold out at like $400 a night, and like people just want to go to the pool and go to the concerts and go to the shows and whatnot. I don't think you're crippling the Seminoles by letting everybody else into the pool. And that's, by the way, like everything else he does, why I think DeSantis's compact with the Seminoles was completely 100% crap and wrong, because it froze everybody out and gave the Seminoles exclusive rights. I think we need to open this up. And look, we have a long-running relationship with the pari-mutuels.
Yes.
I'm not saying this because I'm biased towards the pari-mutuels, but the pari-mutuels have history down here. They've contributed to the community for 70, 80, 100 years in some cases. There's no reason why they shouldn't participate. There's no reason why everybody shouldn't participate in this. And I don't think you're crippling the Seminoles by doing this. In fact, I would say, really, the Seminoles seem like they're moving their operation out to Vegas where everybody gets to compete.
Well, but it's like what Defo said with Vegas, right? Like the fear by many was when gambling goes national, is it going to hurt Vegas? No. Vegas is as popular as
Atlantic
ever,
City's thriving again.
Everyone has gambling.
Yeah.
And by the way, everybody loves, the first thing you do, the first night you get to Vegas, what's the first thing you do? Everybody, I don't care where you're staying. You could be staying at the Bellagio, the Venetian, the nicest hotel on the Strip, whatever you think it is. Everybody wanders up and down the Strip and goes into one hotel, plays a couple games, has a drink, goes to the next hotel, does the same thing. That's what everybody does because everybody wants to see the whole sites. And I think the same thing would 100% be true down here. Everybody would wander and visit everywhere. So, yeah, to me, what's the answer? The answer is stupidity. Stupidity, long-running stupidity. And look, I would love to blame this on Ron DeSantis, but it's not just DeSantis. This has been going on
It
for
precedes
like 30 years.
DeSantis, yes.
Yeah.
It definitely does.
Charlie Crist, Rick Scott, they've all been
All of them,
complicit.
yeah.
Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush, probably worst of all, because he was the idiot who was going around actively campaigning against it. Ooh, no. If you could bet on a football game, somehow, children are going to be damaged.
Yeah.
It's all moron.
Meanwhile, all anybody wanted him to do is let him pull the plug on Terry Schiavo and his his whole gubernatorial run would have been far more successful, at least in the eyes of some. But all right,
Anyway,
and
by
send
the way,
that clip
sorry to
to
get off on
all
the
of our
diatribe.
parimutuel friends out there.
No,
this
sorry to
statement
get
here.
off on a diatribe about
Not a
this,
diatribe.
but
Yeah,
I
there's more.
as
Yeah.
someone who has been involved in sports gaming for a long time,
Since birth. Yeah.
I see all these states that are getting the benefit of this, and for some reason, Florida, a place people would love to come, and look, again, I'm biased as a restaurant owner because I have more tourists down here, the more people, but we see Pompano Park closing live racing. And look, yeah, the aisle is still there, but imagine if you could put a sports book in that place. They already have a beautiful facility. Imagine how many people, we see all these tourists in Pompano, would love to come down here during football season and be able to bet a couple of games. And no, instead, where they go to freaking Biloxi and all these other places that aren't as good, that we have much more to offer. And we're cutting ourselves out. We are destroying our own economy to nobody's benefit.
For no reason.
As has been the custom throughout the history of South Florida and the state of Florida more so. South Florida has always been advanced in this category, but many a bitter battle was fought over the idea of having Sunday racing. Imagine every place else in the country had it, and minors not being allowed into the racetrack. Which if a guy wants to take his kids to the track and look at the horses,
which
have
is
a
the
sandwich
same thing,
and
by the
whatever.
way, as these idiotic laws that you can't buy beer and alcohol on Sundays
bullshit.
Right.
12 o'clock
The
or
blue
1
laws,
o'clock.
yeah.
Because it's somehow worse if I buy a 6-pack at 11 at somewhere than if I buy it at 1. I mean, come on.
I actually, I couldn't even believe what the woman was telling me the first time I experienced that, because I moved to Florida and I think I was putting a barbecue together or something, and I go to buy some beer and it's like 11:30, and she said, "Oh no, you can't do that. What are you talking, Joe? Put it back." And I'm like, what? I said they wouldn't let you buy it till 12. I'm like, so my guests in this half hour are going to become so polluted with evil that it's going to go against everything that the church stands for. Get the hell out! Well, whose law is that? Crazy. We have to get into the big board, Professor, because Lubie's got a plane to catch. Believe it or not, and this is always a highlight for us. Now, I don't know how you did it. Again, last week we were thinking, where's he going to go this week? And you come up with this phenomenal thing about the Tortuga Festival, which it could not have been any more of a condemnation. Did they contact you from the PR department, by the way, about the open position there?
No, they didn't. But Travis Tritt actually sent me an email. And his reaction wasn't entirely positive to the whole thing. Let's just say that.
You looked at Travis Twitt the way Amber Heard, without the sexual part of it, looks right now to Johnny Depp, right? A little bit of a disagreement as to who was right or wrong in their relationship. All right, let's do it. Let's turn the cameras around. The professor's big board for this week.
Well, it's kind of interesting, Defo, that we started with a subject that is about Florida politics because, of course, that is the blind leading the blind.
Yeah? Nice.
And that plays in to the typical aspect. And
there it is.
That is this week's topic of the big board, which is a personal favorite of mine. And I don't know if we've introduced this theory to people on the show, but we're going to here. And that is our one of our favorites. This week, we have the big board of fake blind people. This is one of my little pet peeves in the movies. You see this blind character, and it's always horribly acted, and it's always very poorly done. So we're going to bring that up because there's not a lot going on in sports this week.
All right.
And we're going to introduce that. So number 5, and this is something we actually talked about on the show a couple weeks ago, Defo. We were debating whether it was Heat or Scent of a Woman, where Al Pacino decided acting was just starting to randomly scream at various points during the movie for absolutely no reason. You said it was Heat, and I went along with you, but I actually kind of disagreed. It turns out it is, in fact, Scent of a Woman, which came out 3 years before Heat, where Al Pacino just randomly decided to start screaming during the movie. And that to me, makes him one of the worst fake blind people of all time.
He screamed.
Where just in the middle
Holy
of a
Stevie
like
Wonder, right?
4-minute diatribe, Al Pacino starts, I should take a flamethrower to this place. Hoo-ah! And again, for Al Pacino, that has now become acting. All the method stuff that he learned when he was younger,
Yeah.
all the stuff he just replaced with, I'm going to start screaming dialogue for no particular reason. I think it's because he got an Oscar nomination for Scent of a Woman, and he was like, this is how you get Oscars. You just start randomly screaming for no reason whatsoever. So that's our number 5. Al Pacino and Scent of a Woman.
Fake blind people.
A terrible, terrible fake blind person.
All right.
And number 4, Defo, is going to be a little controversial, but it is one that has gotten me because this man has been perpetrating a fraud on America for a long, long time. And our number 4 fake blind person, Stevie Wonder. For those of you unfamiliar with the theory, you should be going along to the internet. There's all sorts of evidence that Stevie Wonder is in fact not blind. My personal favorite, there's tons of stories out there. My personal favorite's actually of recent vintage, and it's Shaquille O'Neal, who talks about at a charity event, Stevie Wonder hit 3 free throws in a row that Shaquille was holding.
Exactly.
How in the hell does a person who's blind do that? Another one,
especially in front of Shaq. Yeah.
Another one, just mine. Well, that was the point. Stevie Wonder beat him in a free throw shooting contest at a charity event. Another one, just for me. Stevie Wonder is known to be frugal in his life. He's known to not love spending his own money. But the man, every time you see him in an NBA game, has a courtside seat. Why the hell, if you're really blind, do you need a courtside seat? What benefit is that to you? If you're really a blind person.
Good point. Can't argue with that
you
one.
You could stand in the hallway and it's the same experience in an NBA game if you're a blind person.
That's classic.
Yeah.
Number 3. This one actually, it's classic.
That's only number 4. I mean,
Yes.
this list is as exceptional
He
as
has more examples of why Stevie's blind, and I actually.
Number 3,
okay. Well, okay. See, Lubie's jumping the gun, and that is not the case. Number 3 is another fake blind person that really bothered me and was really praised by America, and I couldn't stand it. And that is The Blind Side. Nobody was actually blind in this movie. But Sandra Bullock's accent made me want to put a screwdriver through my eardrum so I could never hear it again. And by the way, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but Mike Lohr, who was the subject of this movie, said this movie was so full of crap that it ruined his life.
Oh,
that
really?
His teammate started ridiculing him about this movie and made it impossible for him to exist in the NFL locker room after that. So I don't know. Everybody loved this movie. I personally kind of thought the movie sucked. And if you read the book is all about actual football. It's got nothing to do. It's like a paragraph on the adoption of Michael Lohr by the Toohey family, which, let's be honest, we came to realize a few years later probably had a lot more to do with a bribe from Ole Miss than it did with him 100%. Actually wanting to induct him into their family. Just saying, the Hugh Freeze era at Ole Miss was kind of full of moves like that.
Yep.
Well, I'm not sure they took the same liberties they have in Winning Time, the HBO series on the Showtime Lakers, which we've been discussing, and has enraged Jerry West to the point of filing lawsuits and even engaging the services of one Alan Dershowitz. But wow, that movie seemed a little far-fetched. I always hated it because Nick Saban had a cameo.
Yeah, they made him like nice and
but
fun.
You had to love it because Ed Orgeron also had a cameo.
Eddie O was in it.
That was good too. Yeah, nobody
had
understood it. Did they put subtitles under Eddie O in the theaters?
They probably should have put subtitles under Sandra Bullock, because one of the things that really annoys me in movies and insults me a little bit as someone who's been a Southerner my whole life are bad fake Southern accents, and hers that
was poor.
Way up there. And honestly, I think she's from like Texas. Like, have you never heard a Southern accent in your life? What are you doing, Sandra Bullock?
Yeah, it was not a particularly flattering portrayal there of Michael Lohr either. And you could see where his teammates, I mean, was Richie Incognito on one of his clubs? Because that would have been perfect, after that movie came out, that sob story. All right, this is number 3 on the big board of fake blind people this week with the professor.
And number 2 is
Yes.
Still
Once again,
Stevie
it's
Wonder.
Stevie Wonder. It's still Stevie Wonder. Again, this man.
Stevie
And we
Wonder.
really want you to watch this video.
It was my favorite.
This one is the evidence that Stevie Wonder. We're going to replay right here. I want you to watch this. We're going to go frame by frame. He's doing a concert with Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney walks by, knocks down the microphone. You see right there, the microphone is falling.
Yep.
Stevie Wonder just casually reaches out and catches the microphone.
But he looked at it. He actually uses his sight to look at it.
So one more time.
He has
Paul
headphones.
McCartney running by. This is like the Zapruder film
Yes.
of Stevie Wonder not being ready.
Zapruder.
Paul
Yep.
McCartney bumps the microphone. The microphone starts falling. Stevie Wonder casually reaches out with his left hand, no less,
Right hand.
and catches the microphone.
like he was Lindor at shortstop for the Mets.
Exactly.
And every time I show
Great
this
to
to
play,
somebody who doesn't want to believe this theory, the response I inevitably get is, well, blind people have other senses or have extra sharp senses.
Instincts, yes.
What does he have? Radar? Did he become a freaking bat because he's blind?
All of a sudden, he's Axl Rose up there, man.
He doesn't have extra enhanced senses. He has superpowers now because he's blind. He's
Roger
on stage.
Donkey,
He's got feedback headsets in there. He didn't hear the mic get bumped. And if he did hear the mic, he heard it traveling left, so he knew just to casually reach out with his left hand. Like I said, this is the Zapruder film for
this one
people who don't believe Stevie Wonder is blind. And again, Defo, major fraud on the American public, running almost 50 years now. Not blind, has been fooling everybody. I encourage you to read up on this, read the stories. This is one of the true conspiracy theories that keep people fueled in the United States of America.
Yes.
Right, and that's only number 2. So the unveiling is coming. Number 1, the big board, the professor this week of fake blind people.
I think we all have a pretty good guess what number 1 is.
He does.
Fake blind people. And that is, of course, Ben Affleck playing Daredevil.
All
if
roads
I were
lead
a
to
blind
Affleck.
person,
Yes.
I would have been horribly offended by this movie, not because it was so bad, not because he was so bad in it, not because they felt the need to pander with a blind superhero, but because they had Ben Affleck playing. And even among Ben Affleck movies, and we're talking some bad ones, we're talking Gigli, we're talking the crap basketball movie, this is by far the low moment, is Ben Affleck pretending to be a blind superhero. And it gets even worse, Defo, because this is the movie where he met Jennifer Garner, his wife, who he has 3 children with. So this movie is responsible for Ben Affleck breeding and creating a whole new generation of Affleck. Basically, everybody involved with this movie should be put in prison just for that crime alone.
Classic. Big board of fake blind people.
You really are.
Closes with Ben Affleck.
I literally said to him yesterday, I was like, we love you doing it, but at some point, like, how are you going to keep doing this? He's like, look, if you don't want me to do it, it's fine. I'm like, why don't you? We're not joking. It's not hyperbole. Like, it's our favorite time of the week. Just how the hell are you going to do this every week? And every week he hits it every time. It's like amazing. It's amazing.
Unbelievable, yeah. I mean, it hasn't had to resort to repetition, cliche, any of this stuff. Just a fantastic segment here on the show. Professor, you did it again, my friend. Any selections on anything? Australian rules?
Actually, yeah, we're going to take the New Jersey Generals in the USFL tonight, -1 against the Michigan Panthers. And then Sunday, we're taking the Tampa Bay Bandits, -2.5 over the New Orleans Breakers. I actually watched every USFL game this weekend, including the one that got kicked. Yeah, this is how much I love football, Lubie. I'm addicted. I told you. I'm like a heroin. So these
USFL futures.
We're shifting to USFL here, and we're taking the Generals tonight. And on Monday night, we're taking the Tampa Bay Bandits. We're shifting to the USFL because, frankly, while I still love Australian rules football, I've gotten a lot of feedback. I'm not getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to watch an Aussie rules football game. And I don't understand the Aussie rules. So I personally love it. I don't think there's a lot of interest in there. We're shifting to the USFL. I think we spotted a couple things in terms of maybe getting a little advantage in terms of the offensive. We're going to test it out this week.
I understand that Herschel Walker signed a 1-day contract to play for the Generals, so he could retire as a general. So people thought, but he's actually playing tonight. for the
He needs money for that political
Let's run.
campaign.
Excellent. All right, Professor, dynamite job as always. Just terrific stuff. The big board of fake blind people this week with the professor and a couple of selections in the USFL. What more could you ask for, people, in terms of entertainment? Professor, we'll talk to you next week. Thanks so much for joining us here on a Degenerate Friday.
Thank you, Deeps. Have a good one.
Now be walking.
Very good, man. So you kind of had a little insight tip there about the Stevie Wonder coming back up again on the board.
No, I meant he was going to show it that one time. I didn't think he would do it again.
I like that he had supporting video, and it really was a Zapruder film of Stevie Wonder's fake blindness, if indeed that is true. But, I mean, there was some significant evidence there, very convincing evidence that the professor, once again, as always, is on to something, that this kid has been faking us out since he's 16.
Look, the hearing thing that we've heard when it comes to blind is true, but here's the deal. He had the ear things in, which make it hard to hear, okay?
Yeah.
Outside stuff, right? You only want to hear what's in here. Then it was I remember it's like a big concert that was. It was like an anthology concert thing. So there's thousands of people at the thing. So that's also going to affect his hearing. Plus, he literally, it's not like he's like the blind thing where they do this. He uses his eyes to catch the thing. It's like, I don't know if he can see, but he's not like blind. Like he at least sees shadows and lights and movement.
Yeah,
like
maybe.
That's ridiculous, that thing. Like that right there screwed me up. When he first showed me the first time, I was like, oh, Jesus.
There go all the Stevie Wonder driving jokes right out the window.
I know.
I waited on Stevie Wonder a few times at this restaurant I was working at in Los Angeles. And actually, it was in the daytime also. It was a lunch place, lunch and breakfast. And, I mean, now that I think back on it was a little weird when he asked me if he could have a different plate because there seemed to be a spot of food.
Yeah, exactly.
On the one that was on the table, and he was eating alone.
Exactly.
Yeah, no problem, Stevie.
Okay.
And it hits you when you're on the way back to the table. Wait a minute, man. You're supposed to be a blind guy. What the hell is that? All of that Motown stuff, it was all BS. Are you kidding me, Stevie? All right, Mike Mayo coming up next year, the Gamvling Gourmet. Always interesting angles with the Gamvling Gourmet. Lubie was on the food show yesterday with the Gamvling Gourmet Mike Mayo, and you made some very valid points about your experience with Greek dining. As you embark, I mean, by what time will you actually arrive in Greece? Is this a straight-out flight?
No, we go to Toronto, and that's a 3 hour flight, then a 2 hour layover there, and then we have a 9 hour flight. So, and they're 6 hours ahead. So it's like 10:30 in the morning, Saturday is when I land in Greece.
So how do you play that? I mean, in terms of, are you going to, how many Quaaludes are you going to take on the flight to Toronto?
I was hoping to meet with you, and that won't happen now. So I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. If anyone has stuff that can knock you out, it's Mustang Sally and Jeff Deforrest, and I never got over there. So I don't know what the hell I'm going to do.
Yeah, you have to get the medical marijuana card. I think that will solve all of your anxiety problems. It really will. All right, we're coming back with the Gamvling Gourmet, Mike Mayo, here on a Degenerate Friday, and we will have Mike's predictions, no doubt, about a variety of things. What is he predicting? Basketball series based on food of the cities?
That's what he should do. We haven't really gotten into it yet, but I would like him to. As the playoffs are fully in tow, why not? I mean, you have some interesting food matchups.
Yeah, I mean, and where do you go? I mean, there are a lot of Greek joints that are very popular here in South Florida, in our area. I would imagine that's true. Is that true all around the country?
No.
You would think, New York would have...
big cities for sure. Big cities like...
Of Greek restaurants?
We're in Atlanta. I didn't see... and Atlanta's a city, and I didn't see, like, Greek everywhere. But, like, here, L.A., New York, Chicago, there's plenty of Greek. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, and a lot of them here. I mean, they're like... there are a couple on the same corner, like more appreciated ones. That Greek Islands or whatever that is. That's very popular. And then that Thesos place. I heard you guys talking about that.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, which it was a fine restaurant also. So hopefully now is the food in Greece anything like any of these Greek restaurants?
Yes.
Is it a totally different departure like there?
China, Italy, the Italian food there is more like Italian food here than Italians here and there want to admit. Pizza's a little different there, and they don't have like chicken parm, or they don't do like when they do carbonara, it's not cream, but you still get similar dishes. Like Chinese food, from what Shirley's told me, is nothing like Chinese food here, which is really annoying. Greek food, we've done all the research, talked to people. It's the same stuff we get here, just better. So I'm super excited because I love Greek food.
All right, we'll see what happens with that. All right, we're coming back with more. Jimmy
Yeah,
Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, Key Largo. Don't ever forget about stop there. That is the best pit stop that you can make if you're on your way to another destination in the Keys, or you're on your way back from anywhere in the Keys, and you're parched and you're thinking, wow, I want to have a drink and something to eat, and you don't necessarily want to go to that Mutineer place or whatever that is. What is that? The Mutiny? The place, it's that one restaurant with the pirate, Florida City there, and your other choice is a gas station, and you're thinking, geez, I mean, here it is, right in front of me, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway, one of the pristine spots anywhere in the Keys or in the state of Florida, for that matter, anywhere in any kind of so-called Caribbean setting. Just absolute paradise there. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. The grounds are just fantastic, and we had a great time just hanging out at the pool all day. Have water sports. You're right there on the bay. You have fresh seafood, all kinds of good stuff coming out of the kitchen there. Dominic and Jemmy does a great job, and a lot of great pizzas. And I know Mayo's a pizza guy.
Yep.
We still have to get him down there for that Italian fisherman, man. I was going to have Mustang pick one up on the way back when she was in Key Largo. And even a few days later, if I had gotten it to Mike Mayo, I think he would have been just absolutely captivated by the taste sensation that is. And the point being, great food and drink, all kinds of different stuff. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, Overseas Highway in Key Largo. All right, coming back with Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet, here in a moment on a Degenerate Friday. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:16.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. You're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. Good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business, and the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Before you call your insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752.
All right, welcome back to the show. This gentleman become a big hit on the program because he's an expert in two things that we all love. Probably live without the sports. We can't live without the food. And nobody better to talk about either or both of those things with than the great Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet. Hope you're going to abstain from betting anything on a preseason.
I would rather bet on rhythmic gymnastics at the Olympics than a preseason NFL game. And that's my closing.
Banking on that French judge. Yeah. Well, I can't believe she saw it that way. She gave him a 2.8. Everybody else had him in the 7s.
From South Florida to the entire world, thank you to the iHeartRadio app. Here is Defo, joined by Lubie on The Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show on this Degenerate Friday edition of the Defo Show. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubitz, and we welcome into the program, is it fair to say that we've taken a few liberties with his good name?
I don't think he's running scared. I think he said, they have the different levels of grief. And I think he's gotten to a level of acceptance, not more scared. Because I was thinking about that. He wasn't nervous. He was just sort of calm yesterday. And it sort of weirded me out. And I'm like, dude, it hasn't. We're not going there. We're riding this thing out. There's no early anything. I'm too Jewish neurotic to try and, put the cart before the horse.
It's gambling. Anything can happen, right? You think the Phoenix Suns, or we're thinking that they're going to be in a bloodbath with the Pelicans without Devin Booker? No. So anything can happen. We welcome Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet, to the show. He's got the wager, of course. that the Florida Panthers, who just clinched everything. I think they even clinched like a small piece of the Stanley Cup last night with their 12th consecutive victory. He has them going out in the first round of the NHL playoffs. And I would have to think, and we were talking with your buddy Dave Hyde from the Sun Sentinel sports staff, one of the two guys remaining there, I guess, with Winderman.
Omar Kelly. Omar
Kelly's still there. Okay, that's straight. But we were, saying that it would probably be as deflating as anything that ever happened to any team here in South Florida in terms of regular season performance to lack of accomplishment thereafter.
No, at this point, it would be shocking and, really, really disappointing. And look, I made this wager. I explained this on the Lunchbox show earlier this week. Back in early April, the time of year when usually the Panthers start stumbling and tripping on their skates, and there's all kinds of cracks showing, even if they had a successful regular season beforehand. This year, it's been the complete opposite. They've won 12 in a row. They score late touchdowns to come back from, down by 5 goals. And Dan Marino trots on the ice and finds Clayton in the net. And somehow it gives them 7 points or 7 goals instead of just the usual one. No, it's an incredible thing to watch. And yeah, I'm calm and accepting because I've realized I've made the biggest boneheaded bet in the history of prognostications.
Yeah.
But I've got to own it. I own it. I will pay off the debt when the time comes. And maybe by just throwing in the towel now, and everybody in the world, one of my angles I love is when everybody in the world goes one way and say, oh, it's not possible for this to happen.
Tom Jicka, the contrarian theory. Yeah, he was a big advocate of that.
And all indications are that, the Panthers, whoever it's going to be in the first round, probably the Capitals. Now, I don't know if you saw the Lightning last night. They looked pretty darn good against Tampa Bay. And they were scoring goals like the Panthers last night. I think it was 5-something. It was 5-0 at one point. But anyway, yeah.
You know what I love about this? You probably hadn't watched a hockey game all year. And now all of a sudden you're an expert on who's at the bottom level of the seedings because you have money on this thing.
Well, when you were in school, Defo, did you pay attention to the whole class the whole year or just like the 3 days before the test and then you would cram?
That's not a fair question for me. I paid no attention. Zero.
0.0. No, I'm a guy who was a crammer, so I could get kind of up to speed and just start watching and say, okay, he's good and this team is going to be dangerous. And look, the one thing I'm considering now in these last few
what do you think
weeks,
of the Calgary Flames?
I don't think anything yet. But let me finish my point because I'm trying to give you some degeneracy here because in order,
I'm fascinated by the interest level. I really am.
This is a kind of a reverse hedge now. Okay, so under the theory of they've won 12 in a row, they've locked up the number 1 seed. Should I now go double fisted and take a strategy of betting on the Panthers to lose a single game and just keep doubling until they lose because they can't win 18 in a row going into the playoffs. I mean, you've got to figure it's like a blackjack dealer. Like eventually they got to go bust one time, right?
You would think, yeah.
And if you keep doubling every time the blackjack dealer doesn't bust, eventually you're going to get the big score. So I think from now until the end of the regular season, I'm just going to start sending big, just straight up money line bets on the opposing team and keep increasing the wager every time the Panthers win.
Until your bankroll runs out.
Well, either until my bankroll runs out or...
That's the problem that you left out of the equation there, that you can keep doubling up, but eventually you're going to be empty.
Well, no, I mean, I would quit at 1 loss. I will cover the meal at wherever it ends up being, Runway 84, Tropical Acres, Andy's Live Fire Grill. All I want to do is cover, bet.
Well, what if they went out? I mean, I can hear Win Elliott rising up from the grave and going on the radio and saying, this is incredible 18 straight. They don't have any incentive left. They've already clinched everything.
If they win out, I'm fucked.
There you have it.
But then I would go subscribe to the They just wasted.
You would jump off a bridge at that point. What are you talking about? That St. Petersburg Bridge, that 7-mile job wouldn't
Then it would be
long enough.
then it would be setting up perfectly for the biggest disappointment in the playoffs of all time, and that they've wasted too many wins and too many goals in April and didn't save any.
You know what's great about all of this? I mean, you sound like Stephen A. Smith. You're all over the place. I mean, you got him winning out now against your money line wagers, and then bombing out in the playoffs as a result of winning 18 in a row. I mean, you're so confused, Michael. Just when the series starts and Ovechkin scores 6 goals the first night, and you win the opening night. Now the Panthers are a little bit nervous because if they lose the next one, then all of a sudden they got to go to the other team's home ice and try and salvage one there. Then you can start feeling pretty good about yourself. I would just wait till then. I would just stop it all. You're doing so much mental hedging.
Yes.
I know.
I mean, it really is like watching that. I saw the original version of The Gambler the other night with James Caan, and I watched it. And, I don't know if it was just out of resentment for the cheap version that was made by Mark Wahlberg, which the professor has a theory that Wahlberg can ruin any movie. And he certainly didn't do this one any justice with his portrayal. But Caan was great. And considering it was 1975, it was great because it got into this same psyche of self-sabotage, that the path that you were on right now, where
you don't know which way to go.
Mister,
hit a big long shot at Aqueduct, and then cash a little double with the chalk, and then just lose it all in the slot machines on the way out.
No, that was really stupid. I feel like a fool yesterday because I thought I could hit this stupid slot machine.
Are you going today?
I have another engagement actually in a different location, but you're welcome to come.
The kid is off school today. I've got a pass. I don't have to
it would be at the Dania High Life facility today.
I'll be there.
That's where we have
around the corner.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, right down the street. Yeah.
I actually stopped in yesterday for a little.
That makes sense.
There. So,
all right, I'll be there around 3:00 in the afternoon. I think.
Excellent. You'll find me at the poker.
Coming
table.
out a little bit late. Yeah. Okay.
I had a good day at the poker table. I just made a little pit stop yesterday. I had like an hour to kill.
That's what I did. It cost me $200.
I turned at the poker table yesterday. I went on a run. I turned 100 into 450. So that
nice.
Was good. That was a good day.
Oh, so you're flush for today. That's going to be excellent.
Okay. I'm okay for now. Hey, I got to I got a couple of beefs with the professor. And,
all right.
I hate to get all serious here, but
was that not convincing evidence that Stevie Wonder can see when he grabbed that microphone? Come on.
Yeah, the guy's a total faker. We know that. No, but how do you put together a list of like the worst fake blind people? And Al Pacino is only number 5. I mean, that was the most revolting performance of
Do you agree with
time.
him?
Yeah.
Well, I agree with him, but he should be like top 2. I mean, that was hoo-ah. That was such.
Yeah, that was.
And he won the Oscar for that. Like, there is no God, because Pacino had so many great performances. I mean, Dog Day Afternoon and Godfather, and even what was the other one? The Devil's Advocate movie. But like the one performance that was just over the top and just horrendous. Yeah, and he gets the Oscar for that. So that was some.
It'd be like having Dustin Hoffman win one for like Ishtar or something like that. Where, like the guy's worst bomb movie.
Yeah.
Why not just give it to Adam Sandler at that point?
Now, and getting into
his movies,
So getting into you don't mess with the Zohan. That was a great movie. Did you?
That was actually funny if you're Jewish. I mean, it wasn't a horrible movie, but it was funny if you're Jewish.
And I disagree with you on Uncut Gems. I really like that movie.
I know.
I thought it was.
I didn't think it was that great.
Nope.
I just think
it was all right, but it
was good for him.
The ending was like.
I love the ending. I didn't see it.
You're not gonna die. You're not gonna.
The ending was just short of $1 Million Baby, only because it happened more quickly.
Like they were like, we have to freak him out. It's like, no, that's not gonna happen. Like that.
No, but it was great. It was because it was like he goes from the ultimate elation of a gamble. Like that's what I loved about it. It's like he wins his bet, he's out. He's like he's so joyful, and then a millisecond later, there's a bullet going right through his head. It's fucking great. Okay. Anyway, well, that's how I roll, because I'm Mr. Pop.
No, you're Mr. Macabre. Yeah, you would love an ending like that, right? Pull the plug already. Come on.
Exactly.
All right. So the other thing I've got an issue with Mr. Professor or Dr. Professor. He must have
professor.
A PhD.
It's just the professor. Yeah.
I'm going to give him a doctorate and an honorary imaginary doctorate, like Shaq got for like total.
How about he's got USFL's team? Come on, you have to respect that, Mike Mayo. USFL games.
I'm not watching. I'm boycotting the USFL. But all right, his whole thesis about gambling and how stupid the legislature is and how the Seminoles Oh yeah, the Seminoles do have enough money, but a couple of points I wish to make at this point.
Uh-oh.
First of all, the politicians are freaking brilliant. Like, even though they have no clue about what's best for public policy, they always know what's best for their own pockets.
Yeah, for them.
And
Yes.
for them to have this perpetual cycle of, oh, maybe we'll do this or not that, and then pit the Seminoles against the big corporate gambling interests and all the sports book companies, that it means that every year companies are gonna be just pumping the campaign coffers with
Yeah, you're right.
donations. And the more and this has been going on since the year of the flood, since 2002, when I was up in Tallahassee every year as a news columnist, where there was talk about letting the parimutuels finally get some of the slot machines, and they dragged their feet finally implementing that, and then but basically it meant contributions and money every year, and that's what these politicians love. And the other thing is, remember when everybody was, including me, was like all on board, so yeah, we got to get the slots to the parimutuels, we got to get them on an even playing field, let at least spread the money around. Well, remember how all the the harness trainers are out there with their little signs and trying to gather signatures for the petition and saying this is going to be great for our sport. Well, it ended up being their ruination, because eventually the slots were approved, and then the big conglomerates realized, why do we need to expend all that money on actually running races and bearing the cost of having all these barns areas which could be knocked down and redeveloped? And so here we are 15 years later, and all those guys are out of a job. It wasn't the salvation of dogs or highlight or harness racing, or maybe even thoroughbred. I mean, it's gone from Calder. It's gone from so it's actually been the total, the seed. They planted the seeds of their own destruction, and that's one of the great ironies of life.
I'm not sure that the harness racing wouldn't have gone away anyway, though, because the interest level had waned, and as you say, I mean, they're making so much money in the casino there. In this case, the Isle Casino, now a Caesars property, and once they did that uncoupling thing in Tallahassee,
Right,
where you weren't required to run a parimutuel event to keep the casino license, well, naturally, that was going to be the undoing of it. Where the corporation comes in and just says, well, "What are we losing money on this for?"
No, and look, it's when they made it so that you had to keep running races in order to have your slots. It was kind of a loss leader, a write-off for them, but at least it kept some local people employed and kept some money flowing around the local community. These big conglomerates now, what Caesars is running the Isle and all. That money doesn't stay here. It goes to stockholders and the corporate fat cats. The one thing I like about the Seminoles having a monopoly, I'm not a big proponent of trickle-down economics, but all those tribe members, they're getting these billions, and obviously they keep buying other properties and doing other things around the world, which makes them more money. But all these tribal members, they're flush. They get these monthly payments. I don't even know what it's up to now, but like every tribal member gets, it's got to be close to $200,000 a year, and all that money stays in the local economy. A lot of them live here. Now I guess they can afford to buy second and third homes, but they're buying pickup trucks from local car dealerships. They're doing home improvements. They're like, that money stays locally, and I kind of like that. So I'm not so.
I'm not sure that justifies the monopoly aspect.
That's what I'm saying.
A few guys are spending a couple of bucks, getting a new roof. I'm opposed to the way things are structured completely. I think all of these parimutuel facilities, as the professor so eloquently stated, sort of earned their position.
Yep.
And were given to the community for years and years and years, including
No, they've
Hialeah Park,
betrayed that trust.
still does.
They've sold out all the horsemen, and they've sold out everybody. And look at the way they've run things. I mean, they talked a big game about redevelopment, and eventually all these places would be like the Hard Rock and have entertainment and hotel hubs around them. And what's happened 15 years later? I mean, do you see
it's
it
going
anywhere?
in that direction? Yeah, I mean, I would say, for what they have and the opportunity that was in front of them.
Well,
I would say it's been a benefit, but
all right, we're getting way too serious here.
I know. Well, I mean, but I don't agree that I think the whole Seminole monopoly thing is just ridiculous, and I don't understand why you would. And even there's some stupid restriction about having like craps and roulette or whatever. I mean, if you're gonna have casinos, have casinos. That would be my theory. regardless of political lines and whether these guys that are all making $200,000 are spending money in the local community.
I agree with you, except that presupposes that the legislature would do things in the right way. And
well, they
actually
never
benefit.
will. I mean, we know that.
No, and again, and that there's ways to structure deals so that you would get enough money going to local coffers and making sure that a bunch of the money, that the profits aren't too high, and that the state and local municipalities that support and around these pari-mutuel facilities get their fair share, and then you could have a deal. But it's never going to happen. It's just
the arguments against it, though, we're out of the Stone Age when these were ideas that were originally proposed about having pari-mutuels have casinos.
I know,
casino licenses. I mean, the talk was it's going to create crime and prostitution.
And the biggest hypocrite of all, Jeb Bush. What a
crime and prostitution. Think about that.
Under Jeb Bush's watch, and he was so morally opposed to gambling and all the destruction it could bring. The Florida lottery under his watch more than doubled, and they started instituting all these games where they'd have drawings every 2 hours instead of just once a week lotto. And the lottery, the scratch-off tickets went from $1, so then you could buy $20 scratch-off tickets. And the lottery gets marketed to the poorest people, the biggest, the people who could least afford it, and it has the worst return. And so he was just he got my hypocrite of the century for like bad mouthing.
Jeb, a hypocrite? How did you come up with that
Republicans?
idea?
The only good thing about this whole DeSantis versus Disney
it's
war,
one of my tenets of voting. Never vote for a guy with a hillbilly name. Remember when he had the signs that just said Jeb with an exclamation point?
Right.
That was every reason for me to never vote for this guy or consider him for any public office, even the proverbial dog catcher.
Those are good rules. Never vote for a hillbilly name. Never play poker against a guy named Tex, and never shoot pool against a guy named Fats. And that's it.
Did you ever take action on whether or not Doyle Brunson would check out while he was at one of those final tables? Was there ever prop action on something like that? Because that was one of the fascinating things about watching. I believe he is, and I think I want to say that he walked into it may not have been the last time we were in Vegas, but my son was playing cards at the Bellagio or something. And there's Doyle Brunson and Negranu at one of the tables. Yeah,
we should have it last longer. Who's gonna outlive each other? Is it gonna be Doyle Brunson or Mike Matusow? I mean, it seems like
Matusow. Wow, yeah, no, he's got to be on some serious fentanyl type drugs in the way that he is always enraged. Who is the other guy? Mizrachi, man. That guy was another one.
Well, he's local, and he's.
Have you ever been in games with this guy, Mizrachi?
Yeah, I've seen him at Hard Rock like one time.
What was he known as? The Messiah or
the Grinder? The Grinder,
yeah,
the Grinder. And his whole family. They started off. I think he or his mom dealt at Dania Highlight back in the Jeb Bush era, where the pots were capped at $10 a pot. It was the silliest thing ever. But
the rink was still the same.
Deal to me, yeah. So but those are poker.
Did you ever play when they first had Native American casinos in California? When the whole idea first was sprouted, and they had blackjack where you had to you were playing against somebody else, another player was the house, and the casino's take was they made you put up like an extra 50 cents every hand, right? And that's the rate,
right.
So they didn't care who
I never
won
played
or how it went. And then so there was one guy who was the bank. You had to put up like a certain amount of money, I don't know what it was, to be the bank for a while, and then you were the bank, and you were going against every other player, while the the house had a dealer that was dealing the cards, and you just sat there like hoping everybody lost. It was a weird way to approach it.
They rotated that, like everybody got to be the bank one.
Not everybody. I mean, you had to want to be the bank.
Oh, okay. They do that now at the local pari-mutuels. Those
yes. Now is that how they're playing those games? I mean, because it's so weird. You see a woman that looks like she probably isn't in a position to be the bank, but very attractive, and she's got like
racks
10
and
grand
racks
in front of her.
Here's
sits there waiting for guys to line up and play.
here's what I think is happening. I don't have any proof, so I couldn't write it. But the local entities, the parimutuels themselves, cannot act as a bank. But I think there's some shell corporations set up, and then they somehow magically are able to employ people to show up every day with racks and
with the
racks, and
money.
they,
Okay.
with the money.
So you think it's a shill job by the casino?
The third party corporation. I've never done. I'm too lazy to do the investigative work, and I really don't care, and I don't want to break up those games. But I would imagine
your reporting instincts are coming to the forefront.
If they followed the money, they would find out somehow that somebody connected with the house is actually
not to put this in unflattering terms, but you're thinking, where did this broad get this money? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
and she's here every day, like in the same position, just boring. I mean, as hell it would be to just sit there and wait for people to show up. That would lose at whatever table game that they're offering. And I don't know if they're offering like the full complement now of all of the different table games.
They don't have blackjack, but they just do those goofy games, the Mississippi Stud. I hate all those games. It's like
I don't get Mississippi Stud. Everybody is infatuated with
I don't
it.
do it. Those are sucker house games. I try not to even pay attention. I don't even want to do it when I'm drunk and just on a flyer.
I do like a little Let It Ride, I would have to say. I
would
enjoy
imagine.
That.
Yeah, so
I mean, because you can have a little bit of luck there, and it's possible you can nurse like a small amount of money for a while.
Yeah, and you get lucky
you can win
time.
like a fairly sizable amount of money in a short period of time.
Hey, well, Lubie's got a plan to catch. Let's rifle through this NBA first round with the food handicapping.
Okay,
angle.
all right.
And I know that some of these series are mid-flight, but you know me. You can trust me. Like this is the way I would have gone before the show started because it's very obvious in terms of food, and of course. Heat Hawks, Miami, Atlanta has an okay food scene, but I love Miami's food scene. I'm a homer, so I would have gone Miami with that.
All right.
Bulls Bucks, not to play the result, but it's basically that Chicago is a better food town than Milwaukee. So I would have gone Chicago in that thing.
I think almost anywhere would be a better food town than Milwaukee. No,
Milwaukee.
Yeah, well, unless you like beer cheese,
beer cheese and dog vomit. Yeah, whatever they're serving there. I don't
know. Philly and Toronto. Toronto's a really good food town, but Philadelphia has it is the emergent, really good, innovative.
Oh, you were saying that. A lot of chefs going there.
Yeah, so Philadelphia, I would have gone with that.
New York restaurants opening up there, right?
Yeah, a lot of restaurateurs who had gotten priced out of New York are going down to Philly. Golden State Nuggets, that's a runaway. I mean, San Francisco, one of the best food. So that would be
what are they eating? Denver elk?
Not bad, probably,
Rocky Mountain oysters, also known as bull's testicles. And
there you go.
Yeah,
I'll pass on that.
I've eaten once, and once is enough. Okay.
Bourdain, there he is again. Anthony Bourdain. You have that in you. It's good.
I do.
All right.
Oh, last night I ate alligator last night. Fried crunchy garlic alligator up at this new Chinese place in Boca Raton called Chili Crab. It is excellent. It's one of the best meals I've had this year.
Alligator was excellent.
Everything was excellent. And they had a lot of scary stuff, a lot of market price crab and lobster. It was
no
delicious.
chow mein.
$85. I got these noodles with vegetarian. It was excellent. I mean, no chicken chow mein, no base. This is like kind of a higher end. These chefs from Hong Kong. It's excellent. I'm going to be singing their praises all over the place.
All right, Lubie's dragging his suitcase into the background here.
Okay, he's going. All right.
On the Pelicans, I feel like
you have a couple more series to go.
Yeah, I don't know. Boston, Brooklyn. That's a toughie. I would go with Brooklyn. That's not looking too good. Minnesota and Memphis. I would probably.
That's a blowout. Memphis. Yeah.
You think Memphis for the
Minnesota's a joke, man. They only have walleye. I mean, they have walleye ice cream. Yeah,
all right. That's it. And I've lost track. There's too many series.
Phoenix
not enough
and
time.
New Orleans. Phoenix and New Orleans. I mean, food wise.
Oh, New Orleans, absolutely.
It's not even close. Yeah.
Now with the injury, they actually have a chance on the court.
Maybe I have a shot. So
and then the Jazz and Mavericks is the only other one you haven't done, which is Utah and Dallas.
Salt Lake City. Oh my God, Dallas. Yeah.
Have you been to Salt Lake City?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
the little tiny liquor bottles. You have to buy.
You didn't cover that winter games there that won Antonio Samaranch. Speaking of bribery,
I did.
The International Bribery Federation.
Mitt Romney ran those games in a very actually efficient manner, and it was. I had more fun than I was expecting, considering it was.
You were covering the Winter Olympics in Utah.
Yeah, that was my last major sports assignment before I jumped over to the news side.
Cake assignments though that you had overall. I mean, considering the itinerary that you've laid out, Monte Carlo,
You go to Wimbledon.
You're at
every
Olympic
year.
Games all over the world. You're partying naked on a tabletop with Dave Hyde in Japan.
And that was Japan singing Roxanne, and that was a drunk with a bunch of
We were
Japanese
asking
businessmen. And
Dave, what
yeah, it was
happened
fun.
to you? I mean, from the wild Mayo that you were back then, where you're singing naked on a tabletop in a foreign country, maybe even facing criminal charges, the likes of which they didn't even see in Midnight Express. And now look at you. I mean, you just, I don't want to do that. Too crowded. I don't want to go there. No, I had to drive. Spring break. I don't care about girls in bikinis anymore. What happened?
Some people say I've mellowed with age. Some people say I've ripened and rotted with age. You take your choice.
Could be that avocado that you let sit in the bag too long. Oh, I didn't know that was there. All right. Michael, always a pleasure. We have to run early because Lubie's
I know. Lubie's
travel
got a plane
accommodations.
ticket.
Yes.
Have a great time and watch out for the flaming Saganaki. I don't think they do that there. Just
I'll keep an eye out.
have a blast and eat well, my friend.
All right, we'll see you later around the corner there
and
from
make
the Mayo Digs.
Make sure you negotiate the cab fare before you get in the cab. I told him this story yesterday where the cabbie held my luggage hostage because we had a slight disagreement about what the fare actually should have been from the Athens
How much
airport.
was the discrepancy, your opinion?
Well, I figured the ride should be about, this was in 1992. I figured it was going to be a 30, 40, like, I don't know how many drachmas as it was, but in dollars, I thought $30 to $40. He was trying to charge me like $80, $100.
$100?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. He saw an American and he thought he could fleece me, and then he held my luggage hostage and I paid him.
What else are you going to do, right? You need underwear for the trip. All right, Michael. We'll talk to you at noon and then see you later on the parimutuel circuit, of course. We'll be plunging later on the late races at Keeneland and maybe several other tracks as well as we go screen to screen. Lubie, you have a great time. We will have special programming for you next week, so tune in. We have all kinds of good stuff coming up next week for you here on Ion Channel. For Mike, Lubie, Lubitz, have a great trip, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
A lot of people on the chat line wishing you very much the same. Great job this week. I'm Jeff Deforrest. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time as we leave it now that.
Let's go to eat a damn.
The time.
It's 8:45.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.